and welcome to our debut episode of OakieVision. My name is Ryan Barnett, Sports Information Director here at Menlo College, and the goal of this show is to keep you, the Oaks fans, have your fingers on the pulse of everything that's going on with Menlo College Athletics as we have this brief lull in sports, and then once we get back to competition, we'll be able to give you some personal interviews with our coaches, players after big games. But we figured for our debut episode, no better subject than introducing you to the newest member of our athletics head coaching staff, Coach Brendan Rooney, who will be taking on the lead of our men's basketball team. Thanks you for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having me, RB. Really appreciate it.
Well, I think we can get right underway. A lot of fans curious, want to get to know you. Of course, the men's basketball team, led by Coach Connie Iona over the past 5 seasons. You will be taking over for him. And I think some of the fans may be a little more familiar with you than they currently know. So why don't you start just by introducing yourself, a little bit about yourself and your coaching background.
Perfect. No, I've been competing against Menlo for a little while. I was the head coach at Cal Maritime for the last 3 years, and was an assistant 3 years previous to that, and then was in kind of a scouting and recruiting role before that. So I remember, and I talked briefly about it in my interview, I remember in 2007, I was a freshman in college and I came to do a live scout here at Menlo. So one of my first ones. So long competed against, but extremely grateful to be entrusted with the program and extremely excited to be in Oak.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you, Coach. You've had some great success both as an assistant and as a head coach at Cal Maritime in the CalPAC Conference. Of course, the Oaks formerly in the CalPAC, now in the Golden State Athletic Conference. Now, Cal Maritime, with you at the helm, was sort of a powerhouse in the CalPAC. Menlo, an up-and-coming school now in the GSAC, coming off their best season since joining the conference in the 2015-16 season. What similarities and differences do you see between competing with Maritime in the CalPAC and competing with this Menlo College squad in the Golden State Athletic Conference?
I think the biggest similarity and kind of what has enticed me most is that both are institutions of high academic nature, and they attract a certain student athlete who wants to compete both on and off the floor. So I think kind of, when that success, when it kind of manifests itself, is when you have, that group of individuals that is going to push themselves to find their individual potential, but thus the collective potential of the group. That's what I'm so excited about with this group, and that Menlo College is such a great campus. There's a palpable feeling just when you step on what it's like to be in Oak and to be around the type of people that this campus attracts. So I think the similarities of the high academic institution is what drew me to it so much. I'm excited to get going with it.
All right. Yeah. We've seen the high quality of athlete, of course, here at Menlo and at Maritime. So we're excited that you have experience working with this style of athlete as well. So speaking about athletes, we're going to break it down a little bit into your returning squad here at Menlo. Of course, 3 starters moving on either for graduation or transferring. But you do return some exciting players, and it really starts with your playmakers, your point guards. 2 returners in the forms of Khalid Price and Najai LeBlanc. Khalid, more a traditional point guard this past season in his freshman year. Najai has shown the ability to run the offense as well as to be a scorer. What can we expect with these 2 players? Will we expect to see them both on the court at the same time, sort of on and off for each other, running the offense? How do you see that working out for your team?
Yeah, I think with Lid and Najai, what I told them is I was so glad to be coaching them and not coaching against them because they're so versatile. I think you look at Najai, had to coach against him for 3 years and, really gets downhill off ball screens. And you look at Lid, he was, one of the best 3-point shooting percentages in school history. So I think you can play them both together. I think whoever gets it can go. And I think that's the nice part is it gives us so much flexibility as a team is we don't have to have just one guy get in and go. So then being able to play off of each other, but understand that there's a trust between the 2 of them. And I think the biggest thing for them is their leadership and how they command a huddle. And I think that's the biggest thing when you look at the point guard position is you have to have that leadership, and there has to be an extension of the coach. You can't call timeout all the time, right? We're limited. We wish we had more of them, but then be able to command a huddle and be able to look those guys in the eyes and be able to entrust them that whatever they say is what the program needs. And with both those guys, feel them doing it together and individually are going to lead to us being successful.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that Khalid had the experience this past year as a true freshman to run the offense. You know, sort of, although he'll just be a sophomore this upcoming season, has that veteran ability to command that huddle, like you said. And of course, Najai now having run the Oaks offense for the past 3 seasons, coming into his 4th season, I think that's a huge asset. So definitely excited to see with your new coaching style coming in, how these 2 point guards are able to command your offense. Now, moving on, you also have 2 pretty explosive post players returning in the forms of Corey Leao-Pepe and Parker Haven. Both really came into their own this past season. We were excited to see what these 2 bigs would come in last year. They proved, a lot of points that they were ready to both start at this level. 2 of pound for pound the strongest big men in the GSAC, despite not having the 7-foot height. Both at, I believe, Corey at 6'6" and 6'7" for Parker. So how do you see these 2 fitting in? Would we see like a twin tower look with 2 posts on the court? Are we looking to see them both split time at the 5?
No, I think with some of the guys graduating, like you mentioned earlier, with John Payne, obviously one of the best players in school history, I think it opens up more minutes for them, and it opens up the ability for them to play together. I think both have the ability to stretch the floor. They'll do whatever's asked of them, which is the best part. But they both have the ability to stretch the floor. And like you said, their physicality, pound for pound, being able to impact the boards. I think seeing them play together, and the cool part, looking back at all the film, you just see the level of excitement they have for when the other is successful on the floor. So I'm excited to have that unselfishness, but also to see them do it together on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, and what we saw, something extremely exciting about both Parker and Corey last year, I'll give the example of Tim Suarez with the Masters University, one of the top bigs in the conference. But with Corey and with Parker, these guys have the hustle of guards up and down the court. We saw these bigs who are able to dominate down low. They just couldn't keep up with guys like Corey and Parker. So do you see that speed giving your offense an edge and your defense as well, these guys to play in transition?
Yeah, I think the ability to guard things multiple ways, with ball screens, and then being able to push in transition. We want to run, and that's the big thing with those guys of running the floor. A guy could be 6'10", 6'9", but their versatility in their skill set is great, but beating a set defense every time is tough, right? So the ability to get down there and be able to get easy baskets is going to be huge. And I think both of them offer that ability, and they're both motivated by that. They want to run, they want to go, and that's something that we want to preach throughout, because they may get it, running the rim, but they might also open up, a 3 in the corner because that guy had to tag him because the big guy couldn't stay with him. So I think that versatility of their athleticism is going to be huge for us.
Yeah, and we saw that versatility on display a season ago. That's why the Oaks were one of the top 3-point shooting teams. And in fact, the top 3-point shooting team in the NAIA. The versatility to get mismatches and get guys open. It wasn't necessarily that we were knocking down consistent contested threes, but more so just the ability to get open threes and knock them down. So definitely glad to hear that you're looking to keep that style of transition offense and to push.
Absolutely.
And on defense as well, to have guys who can guard all over the floor. Now, we've talked about your major minute returners in the forms of Khalid, Najai, Corey, and Parker. We do have some other returners who showed moments of greatness. Curtis Witt comes to mind, Jake Tranter, Evan Dirksen. Who do you expect this year? Maybe some of these returning guys who didn't get the minutes last year with guys like Jeremiah Testa and John Payne around to step up this year when given the opportunity.
Yeah, I think, going off those 3 you mentioned, utilizing the experience they had from this past year. And, Curtis Witt's hit big-time shots his entire life, and can really score at all 3 levels. And you saw Evan last year, kind of glimpses of what the future could look like with his length and athleticism, his motor. And then, Jake, his versatility and intellect, right? He has the ability to play so many different positions because he understands the game. But those three, and then you look. I'm excited for Ziggy and Brian and Johnny. Those guys, they've been working, so they're ready for that opportunity. And with the amount of guys that graduated and the amount of production, there's going to be opportunity to be had.
Yeah, would you mind elaborating a little bit more on Ziggy? I know some Oaks fans got to see him on the bench taking the red shirt a year ago. He'll be a new addition to the offense, but a local product from Sequoia High School, transferring to Menlo from Cal Poly Pomona. Talk about how he can fit into this offense. Not a lot of us have had the opportunity to see him play yet, and what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggy is as strong as they come. When he gets the ball, no one is taking it from him. So he's able to get an automatic post touch anytime you want. And the thing about him is his hands are really good and his feel is really good. So his ability to draw two and then find one. And you saw him being on the bench. He's a phenomenal teammate. I think that's the thing, is goes with his unselfishness and his feel. If two guys come, he throws that thing out. Sometimes you get it in there and you don't know what's going to happen with him. And our bigs in general, they're so unselfish and cerebral that they understand where it's going to be and able to go. So I think he's going to have the ability to have an impact. I think playing at Cal Poly Pomona, a great program, and understanding the rigors of that, I think he has that maturity and that wherewithal to have an impact for us.
Absolutely. And I will say, from observing Ziggy on the bench this past season, he does seem to perfectly fit into this Menlo family culture, and everybody sort of, picking the guy up, next guy up, and that mentality. So excited to see what he can do on the court, but definitely already you see him working with his teammates and blending into this Menlo family, which we're really excited to see. So really excited to see Ziggy on the court as well. So I want to finish this up, Coach, with some talks about your conference, the Golden State Athletic Conference. 9 of the 10 leading scorers in the conference have graduated. The one coming back, of course, Abram Carrasco, the defending GSAC Player of the Year at Westmont. But the conference seems really up for grabs. A lot of teams, bringing back guys who had big games. We'll see who steps up. But what's your outlook on this conference this season?
I've long said it, from the outside, is GSAC's one of the best conferences in the country. And you look at the depth top to bottom and you see the recruiting that's taken place and some of the guys coming in. This year's no different. So we feel very good about the group of young men we have. And we feel we can compete at the highest level. But we have an immense amount of respect for the conference and what each school has done. And the fact that teams have won national championships, they've been ranked number 1 in the country. Every night's a battle. There are no nights off, and as cliche as that is the truth. Especially road games. Road games are tough in conference. So I think it's exciting, but it's going to be a challenge for us.
Yeah, I mean, this conference is, as you put it, one of the best in the nation, and road games are definitely an important part, but definitely for other teams as well coming into Haynes Prim. I know you've got the chance to see some of Okie's Army, our student section, and how rowdy our fans like to get. Huge home court advantage. What are your thoughts on that? Are you excited about that electric environment for game day?
Yeah, one of the clips I showed was from last year. Najai goes against N1 and guys go pick him up, and the crowd's going nuts, and the refs having to keep him off the floor, and that's like you said, I think it goes both ways. Like, we have a home court advantage here, and it's going to be electric, and it's because the way people like to watch basketball, with getting up and down and playing a fun brand of basketball to play, but also to watch. And that's something that we want to continue to do and to build that momentum and build, people having to come in and they're kind of dreading it a little bit, is be able to have that environment, have that connotation associated with Haynes Prim, is one that's there and one that we hope to build upon.
Absolutely. And we, whenever we can, hopefully with this situation, look forward to our fans getting, electrified in the gym by your squad this year. One last question for you, Coach. I got to ask it. For a basketball guy, I'm sure, you haven't been able to be out with your team nearly as much with this situation. What have you been doing during the quarantine to prepare your team for this upcoming season, whenever that may be, whether it be in November start, January start, or another time? How have you been able to keep your team mentally prepared and yourself mentally prepared?
Yeah, I think, for us, it's controlling what we can control. That's kind of been our message in our Zooms we've had with the guys is, so much of this we have no control of. And if we get caught up in trying to worry about all that, then we lose where we are. So we've talked about a lot of that and understanding that at some point there's going to be a start, but we can't wait for that start or that gun to go off to begin putting ourselves in a situation to be successful. And the best part of that is we've had some guys step up and voice that. And so when it comes from the players, it's a totally even more impactful message. And for me personally, there have been so many coaching clinics and coaches that have been so selfless with their time of sharing their messages or sharing their philosophies. So trying to just put as many tools in the tool belt as possible to make sure that when we do tip this, whenever that is, that we're ready to go.
All right, Coach. Well, last question, bit of a fun one. So we heard about how you're staying mentally prepared and keeping your team mentally prepared during the quarantine. What have you been doing sort of in your free time, though, just to sort of pass the time now? I'm assuming you probably would spend a lot of time, watching basketball. Of course, basketball's back. Hadn't been back for a while. So what have you been doing, for the fans out there, so to give them some ideas?
Yeah, so I got engaged. So now there's a little bit of wedding planning that's taking place.
That's right. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. And then just spending time with family in whatever capacity we can. We've done Zoom game nights, a lot of card games, a lot of board games, kind of, taking the silver lining, because like you said, a lot of times during this, this time of year, it's, you're on the road and you're recruiting and all those sorts of things. So enjoying the time that we do have and trying to make sure that we're not taking it for granted.
All right, Coach. Well, it sounds like between working with your team through those Zoom calls and staying in touch with family, you've been able to keep busy. We're hoping that this is another way for you fans at home to keep busy. Stay in tuned with OakieVision. We'll be back next week with another exciting story, so you can keep your finger on the pulse here at Menlo College Athletics. Thanks so much for your time, Coach, and for stopping by.
Thanks, RB. Really appreciate it.